Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to episode 71 of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, somebody who just likes to josh around. And my co-host this week is somebody who you've all known and loved. But do you really know who this man is? I once thought I did. But after watching these two films, I came to a realization. The eyes, the hair, the beard, the sense of dread that haunts his taste. Everyone! We have found the long-lost son of Alan Moore. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed. David, how you doing today?
Good. I feel like if the audience really knew me, whatever love they have would probably disappear. So let's just keep things mysterious, shall we?
Are you the long-lost son of Alan Moore? We'll keep it a mystery, I guess.
Yeah, let's not reveal too much.
Yeah. The mystery is part of the fun.
All will be clear in time.
Well, for comments, concerns, thoughts, and hate mail, and what noir films you find interest in, send them on over to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com, or you can just text Jake.
You almost approached how Australians say the word no.
Nar.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. Yep. We were just talking about Australians just right before we hit record too, about I personally love when I hear somebody with an Australian accent just curse. Like, it's just the best thing in the world for me. I don't know why. Like, yeah, there's like the sound of maybe somebody saying that they love you. That sounds pretty good too. But also an Australian, and if they curse at you, oh, it's even better. It's just great. I don't know why. As an American, I just fancy that. It's really cool. How about you, David?
I have to admit, it's
like an honor.
It is quite a pleasant sound to listen to.
Indeed. All right. Well, welcome back to another entry, ladies and gentlemen, of our 2-film series where we take 2 different films, put them together to a coherent theme, and then we review both of them, basically. And let's see, how do I say this? Our theme this week, or this time, is noir films. I think I'm pronouncing that right, David.
It's noir.
Noir films.
Noir.
Noir.
The O really makes it turns into a W, essentially.
Yeah, I was typing it out, and I kept putting the I before the O. And apparently the English language is just stupid. Like, that's just how it is. So,
well, I mean,
noir.
It's all William the Conqueror's fault.
Well, it's many people's fault, we'll say.
No. It's William the Conqueror's fault because he's the one who rallied the Normans to sack Great Britain, and that caused the great influx of French into the English language.
Dang it, I should have known it was the French.
That's a reason. That's actually the reason why, among other things, like we have different names for the meat of certain animals. Like we have cow, but its meat is called beef. We have pigs, but their meat is called pork. Poultry, same thing. It's actually because after the Norman conquest, you had this sort of like ethnic divide happening where the upper class were all Normans of French descent and the lower class were all Anglo-Saxons. And so you had this sort of like parallel sort of language develop where the Normans would call things by the more snooty upper crust type French terms, while the Anglo-Saxon peasants would call things by the lower class English or Germanic terms, because English is a Germanic language. And so this eventually developed into the divide between the names of animals and the names of their meat. Another thing that the great Norman invasion of England brought is the reason why we have words like Jesus or Jehovah in our Bibles, even though they would have been pronounced Yeshua or Yahweh in the original languages. Because what ended up happening is these words came to us via the Greek, because the New Testament was written in Greek. So Jesus would have been called Yeshua, but Greek has very specific rules for, like, in his actual culture, Jesus would have been called something like Yeshua. But Greek has very specific rules that nouns have to take. Like, they have to take certain forms. So you can't name a man Yeshua in Greek. So they had to transliterate it into something that would follow the rules of Greek grammar. So that's turned into Jesus, which was basically transliterated straight into the Latin with no change. When the Roman Catholic Church became a thing, Latin sort of became the liturgical language that Christians used. And so the Greek word Jesus was transliterated into Latin, and then that was transliterated into English, and the letter J came along afterwards as a way to signify when the letter I was being used as a consonant, because the Jesus is spelled in the Latin alphabet is spelled I-E-S-U-S, and it's pronounced Jesus. And so the letter J was eventually invented to sort of differentiate and to mark that consonantal I. But then the Normans came.
Ah, dang Normans.
Prior to the Norman invasion, English used the, just like German, used the Latin pronunciation of the letter J. So Jesus was actually Jesus in the earliest forms of English. But the Norman invasion happened. A large amount of French influence crept into the English language, and a sort of what they call the great vowel shift happened. And the letter J was changed in pronunciation to represent the French pronunciation of the letter J, which had diverged from the Y sound of its Latin forebearers before English did. And so words like Jesus and Yehovah were then changed to be pronounced Jesus and Jehovah.
Man.
So that was a long and arduous history lesson, all to make one singular point, that the French corruption of the English language can be traced back to William of Orange rallying the Normans to conquer Britain.
William Orange.
William of Orange.
William of Orange. Like
later, William of Orange, later known as William the Conqueror.
And if you're wondering, audience, one of two things I have two thoughts, David. Number one is the dang French. I love the French, but I also love them as much as I hate them. Like I love the culture. Well, no, I love the media that comes out of that culture. But it's just an ongoing joke that us Americans and the French, we don't get along. We also went to war with them several times throughout our history, the last 400 years or so. So there's that. But also, second thought is if you want to scroll down a little further, David, the link to the Schofield Bible is on that Wikipedia page. So I'd recommend clicking that too. Or maybe you got to this point of regaling us with this information, and you learned of this information by looking up the Schofield Bible because of recent events. I don't know. That's what goes through my mind.
All right, is this like a plug for the Schofield Bible?
No, it's not. It's actually...
Is Snarp Fangle sponsored by the Schofield Reference Bible?
We are not sponsored by Qatar or anybody of that such, just saying, or Israel or any of that, So, anyway.
Yeah, no small hat influence here.
or any big hat influence. Like, there's the only influence that is on the show is a view of me. You and me. So there we go. Well, I mean, USAID funded David. Now Jake is funded by Qatar. Like, it's all coming together now. We had to find a new source after the USAID money ran.
Yep.
Yeah, so Qatar was probably the next best effort, you know. And it's labeled as conspiracy, which is exactly what we wanted, right? Anyway, the two films we selected for the noir genre, we were just Googling around. We were trying to figure out what we haven't seen, what we have seen. We picked two films, and that is Dark City and Drunken Angel. Really fascinating films, very interesting. And the first one we're going to dive into is Dark City. So let me get right into it. In a bleak, nightmarish world where rejected Blue Men Group members are going around killing the average folk, we follow John Murdoch, a man who has somehow forgotten who he is and how he has attained supernatural powers. Directed by Alex Proyas, written by Alex Proyas, Lem Dobbs, and David S. Goyer. Starring Rufus Sewell, William Hurt, Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly, Ian Richardson, and Richard O'Brien. With a budget of $27 million and also a box office of about $27 million. Runtime of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and the release in 1998. So I almost said Jake. So David and myself, I'm calling myself too. Hey, Jake, pay attention. What are our general thoughts of Dark City? We got done watching it the other day. It's apparently a very influential film among several directors out there nowadays. But
yeah,
released in 1998. What are our general thoughts on this? I thought it very strange, but not bad.
Yeah, the first thing that jumps out for me is, holy crap, so much of this film's DNA ended up in The Matrix.
Dude, yeah.
Which is crazy to me because they only released a year apart.
Mm-hmm.
And The Matrix actually used some of Dark City's sets during filming as well.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think they were filmed in I want to say in New Zealand or Australia, and they used...
Yeah, it was Sydney.
Sydney, that was it, yeah.
Sydney, Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting film. Definitely a noir, or a definition of noir, I would say, of the noir genre. Very fascinating, very interesting, very dark, very, I wouldn't say, foreboding, I would use that word, but it gives me a lot of, it's like Alex Proyas saw, different things in his life, he watched the Apple commercial of 1984 and basically took that and made a movie, as well as bringing in some Sin City vibes as well. It's very interesting. Something that stood out to me, I guess, is just for lack of a better term, the children of the day today would say what a mood this film is. And very much so. It's very much its own vibe, I guess. But it owns it, and it takes it into different places. And I like that.
I would say the biggest strength of this film is the atmosphere.
Yes.
It really, really draws you into the world of the film in a way that few movies do.
Yeah, there's films I would say something like Blade Runner, BioShock as well. This film is echoes a lot of those things. BioShock echoes this film a lot, as well as this film echoes Blade Runner, and so on and so forth. It's very interesting. Also, the guy who directed this, Alex Proyas, did I, Robot, which we've also reviewed. We did that back when we did 2 robot films. We did that in, of all films, Short Circuit, to pair those two together. And I love iRobot mostly because I grew up with it and it's very nostalgic. But seeing this, you can see the same kind of DNA and style this guy has. I will say it's edited in a very interesting way, but it's not a bad film at all.
Yeah. And what's really interesting too is this film has a very singular vision. It's original, even to a fault sometimes.
Yes.
And then you contrast it with some of his later work, which is definitely, you can see little bits of it in there, but it's much more conventional, I would say, than this.
Oh, yes. Way more conventional. I was reading some of the trivia, and yeah, he was like, no, this is my vision. I'm going to go until we find the right partner. And that was, I believe, Warner Brothers. Yes, because The Matrix was with Warner Brothers as well. And they even made him rearrange a ton of stuff in that and made it more, mass marketing, more appealing, that kind of thing. Like they do, studios have to do that. But we watched the director's cut of the film. So if we went on Amazon Prime and you can do the theatrical or the director's cut, I'd recommend the director's cut. The differences are, there's a number of them, but the main one is there's an odd narration from Kiefer Sutherland in the theatrical version that basically gives away some of the plot details already at the beginning of the film to kind of explain to the audience.
Interesting. So they pulled they did kind of like a Blade Runner thing.
Yeah, they pulled a Blade Runner. And I don't think that would serve to this film's strengths. I think that takes away a lot of it. Like, this feels like a novel. Like, straight up, like, I'm reading this really cool noir novel, and then there's the society, the blue man group, or the white man group, as we say, the white face group, we'll just say that. The white face group. Who all have names of Mr.
Otherwise known as the Strangers.
Yeah, the Strangers. And yeah, these guys like run the city, they run the civilization, and people don't know how to get out, don't know how to go in. Very Truman Show-esque, but applied to everybody. And it's just, it's a really fascinating concept. Really cool. But I don't think, like, first off, the acting's good. The writing's, I'd say, would be okay. I think it would be good. Like, it's not bad in any way. I just think that the vision is very singular, as the word you used. And I would have to agree with that. It's, like you said, also to a fault. And I also want to echo that. Like, it kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say it gets in the way of itself, but it negates any way of communicating effectively what it's trying to do, especially at the end, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's the atmosphere, the detectiveness of it all, the mystery. But I feel like the mystery is kind of put back a few places in benefit of the atmosphere and of the vibe and of how these people interact and the strangers as well. So I don't know. Do you think, I don't know if this film necessarily achieved what it set out to do, but I don't know if I think it actually, I'm going to walk back that back. I think it achieved what it wanted to, especially in the director's cut, but I don't think that goal was very, gosh, how do I describe it? I don't think that goal was like, I don't think it really means anything.
Well, I would say that it definitely achieved what it set out to do. And I would say that this film's not a failure of filmmaking by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But there are certain parts where it was trying to do things. It was insisting on trying to do things that were kind of not to its benefit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I noticed was there's a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
Which I kind of stole that from one of your observations, but when I read the doc, but then as I read that, I was like, wow, yeah, that's right on the money. That's like 90% of this movie is like exposition. It's kind of necessary because there's so much going on and it's so dense and things are happening. Coming at you a mile a minute, like it's kind of necessary so you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, was there a way to scale back some of the elements in the film so that it didn't need all that exposition? Because, it kind of, I feel like it kind of got in its own way a little bit in certain parts.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I noticed too is, like, I think the director had a certain vision for how some of the special effects shots were going to go, like the strangers flying through the air or the telekinesis battle at the end of the movie. Like, the director probably wanted it to look a certain way, and it just, with the technology of the time and the budget and all that, like, they're just, I don't really feel there was a realistic way to accomplish um that in an effective way. Like, I think those scenes, as clunky as they look, that was what the director wanted to happen. And they could have been changed to be less clunky.
Yeah.
But then it would have probably meant changing how the director envisioned the film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my kind of like theory about it, is that a lot of the clunkier parts are just a byproduct of this film having an absolute singular vision.
Yeah, it's like you said before, it kind of gets in its own way in a lot of things, but I don't know, because when you think of the way it's shot, it's very beautiful. Like the way it's shot, the cinematography, even the directing by Alex Proyas himself, like it's very, very, like you could tell there's a good talent behind the camera for sure.
Yeah.
It's the writing for me, like the vibe, the camera work, everything, the lighting, especially the acting is great. The dialogue's good, I guess. It's not bad. And especially when it gets to the strangers, it's kind of weird, but that's fine. It just kind of echoes a little bit of like a B movie, a little bit, and some of the like plot details, especially with the strangers. But the concept kind of saves that, even if the ending is a little hokey at times.
Yeah.
It has some hokey elements. Like you mentioned the way the strangers move, which is they raise their arms like they're in an A pose, like a 3D model. And then they just float up into the air like they're on wires and just like, I don't know, walk around like they're on Iron Man boots, basically.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, fly like they have Iron Man boots. But they're just standing straight up and moving forward. Honestly, that stuff doesn't really bother me in the end of the day. But it is like when it happened, I bursted out laughing. I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, this is so weird. And especially in the end when it happens multiple times and they're all like kind of moving around.
Yeah.
I also wrote this down. I don't know why, but this movie kind of reminds me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I can't explain why. It might be like the level of CGI they use or the way they use it, I guess. But also it could be that. It could be just like, oh, there's a detective. It could be the Jessica Rabbit looking blonde like hooker that we're introduced to with the daughter. Or maybe it's like the Mr. Hand guy who does look a lot like Christopher Lloyd, who I think was Richard O'Brien's character. It's just, there's something about this film that has some echoing back to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I don't know why. It might just be the detective.
I can kind of see it, but I would say that those are accidental similarities.
Yeah, I don't think it's intentional at all.
But yeah, I will agree that there are some sort of similar imagery in the two films.
And going back to like the plot and writing of it all and how this kind of whole film is arranged with the concept and the payoff in the end, I feel like there are definitely ways you could have had either more explanation in a more, I don't even want to say efficient way, because I don't think that serves the story, but a more, I'm trying to find the words for this, but there could have been a way you could have had more explanation, but it would have had to rejigger the entire plot. I feel like there could have been some more, you get a little bit in the end, but more investment with Kiefer Sutherland's character and how maybe more investment of why he's doing what he's doing and what he's doing in this world. It's also very similar to Matrix in that sense, because you have the Joe Patanelio character in the Matrix and Kiefer Sutherland kind of sharing some similarities in the sense of they're serving this greater purpose because they want to like live in this world. Except with Kiefer Sutherland's character, he's kind of may or may not be behind it all. I don't know.
No, well, yeah. I think with Kiefer Sutherland's character in this movie, it's more like he's just taking advantage of a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know, he's trapped in this.
That's a good way to describe
trapped in this world, same as everyone else. But because the strangers need him, they've given him, they've allowed him to shall we say, be more of himself
Mm.
than the others. But at the end of the day, he's trapped just like everybody else.
Yeah. If I may, David, I would like to go through some things that definitely took from this film, like just different media, as well as things that it was inspired by. And just from looking at it, this is just like purely my perspective, but I can see a lot of different things in this movie. One thing, of course, was The Matrix. You could see The Matrix took stuff from this. Ken Levine's BioShock and System Shock 2. Those video games, I would argue, take heavily from this movie. You got, I would say, Spielberg's Minority Report. I see a little bit of that in there. Nolan's The Prestige, as well as maybe some others from his filmography. And of course, you got your classic film noir and crime novels.
Yeah.
But
well,
was there anything you saw?
Speaking of Nolan, he. Okay. Sorry, I blanked for a second.
It's okay. I brought up The Prestige, but is there anything from his stuff that you saw?
Inception.
Okay.
Inception.
That was
I had to think about it for a second. Yeah, so he actually name drops this movie. He's quoted as name dropping this movie when this was in Wikipedia. I didn't verify it, but so it could be wrong. But at least in Wikipedia, he's quoted as name dropping this movie when talking about what he was thinking about, or the general era of films and sort of the vibe of films he was thinking about when he started writing for Inception. And like when you see like the building changing scenes in this movie, it's like that's totally Inception right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely you can definitely see that, especially with the buildings twisting and those kind of shots. Which, like, dude, speaking of Inception, I feel like this film would have served itself far better having it be made like even like just 2 or 3 years later. Like maybe after the Fellowship of the Ring, even like once CGI got to that point, I feel like they could have done way more of what he envisioned it being. Like I feel like it was a little bit ahead of its time for sure.
Yeah, it was hamstrung for sure by the constraints of technology. You can see that in a lot of the CG. The building changing sequences are really good.
They're really good.
But a lot of the other CG is a little on the hokey side.
Yeah.
And a lot of the action shots is very clearly relying heavily on wire work.
Yeah.
It's like...
I feel like you would go see Batman and Robin the year before this or whatever year it came out and be like, wow, that was horrible. And then you see a little bit more wire work in this. You're like, I think we're getting to the point where action's like, it could be better, you know? And of course, Blade came out the year before and you're like, yeah, give me some of that. Give me some of that action. Give me that wire work with them flipping vampires. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's really funny too. Like this, it's almost like this movie walked so the Matrix could run.
Yes.
Because like the CG elements in the original Matrix movie, I'm not going to include the sequels in this, but the CG work in the original Matrix is so fantastic.
It's really good.
It's done subtly enough that even with the constraints of CG back in 1999, like it still holds up well today.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Jurassic Park was done in 93 when CG was like looked awful. But they did it in such a subtle way just to subtly enhance the practical effects and the animatronics they were using. Like you watch it today and it doesn't look dated at all. Yeah,
there's I'm not trying to go on a tangent. I'm just bringing up that one moment in Jurassic Park where they're climbing into the ceiling at the end and the raptors are going after them. And you see, of course, the famous shot, one of many famous shots in that film, where the raptor is looking up and the DNA code on the computer is like projected onto him, which is a practical effect. It's a puppet. But then literally it's the raptor falling out of the ceiling, like as it's like reached up to grab him. It like fell out of the ceiling, it lands, and that's pure CG. but the believability of that prior practical shot really sells it.
Mhm.
And that's one really cool use of in that movie, as well as The Matrix. But in this, it feels like if this was released in the year of Inception, man, it would have served it would have served it so well in the more modern era.
This is almost like I'm have remake fatigue for sure, but I almost feel like this film kind of needs to be remade.
Yeah.
Like, even like we know from iRobot that the director can craft a movie with good CG given the proper resources.
Yeah.
So I'd almost like to see what could be done with this film with modern technology.
Yeah, I concur. I think that would actually serve a lot of its purpose far better. And I feel like you could get away with it too, because you could sell it to the studios as, hey, this is like something that, like you said, it did a lot of walking for other things to run.
Really, all you have to do is say, this is the movie that inspired The Matrix.
And Inception or whatever else, there's so many things that came after this film that other films took from it. And you could tell. And it's really cool. It's like it's a foundational film for a lot of other things, which is really interesting. And then like the next year, The Matrix came out and everybody's like freaking out. They're like, what the heck? This is amazing. Like we're in a new era of film, or at least into the 21st century. So it's really commendable. And man, can you imagine like maybe bring back Alex Poyes? I mean, he'd be involved in it for sure, but definitely David S. Goyer, who, did the Batman and Nolan films as well. Get him and even Nolan involved as well if you want. Like, I
almost feel like having Nolan direct a remake of this film with Proyas as like a
producer.
Yeah, like a producer. And like maybe like a writer as well.
Yeah, get like Jonathan Nolan on this and David S. Goyer, or David S. Goyer and another writer. And I feel like they could really redo it and really add a lot that could make a lot more sense, but also like bring a new flair to it as well. Like, I feel like you're right. This is something that's just aching to be remade. And I don't think a studio would greenlight it, but if you get Nolan involved, man, would that be cool. Like, and I don't know if he would even go for it, but one could hope. And I think this film could very well serve it a good remake. And you can even bring back some of the cast, not like as in the same roles, but in alterations. Like, you could bring back, what's his name, Rufus Sewell, and have him be like, you could have him be like the dad or something, or whatever.
Yeah, what's his face? You could have him be Uncle Carl.
Yeah, it could be. you could.
Because I feel like, because Rufus Sewell is like Irish, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And the Uncle Carl in the movie has like a pretty pronounced Irish accent.
Yeah.
So it could work.
Yeah, it could work. I was trying to think, as long as Zendaya is not Jennifer Connelly's character.
Yeah, as long as Zendaya is like, has a, like, they put a restraining on her, order on her. Like, she's not allowed within 50 feet of anything related to this movie.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
Yeah, it's weird because this is not a movie that I would see either on a streaming service or on a Blu-ray and look at it and be like, "Ooh, I want to watch that." But that's kind of like the purpose of our 2-film series, is to kind of take stuff that either is kind of forgotten or needs more attention on it, I would say. And I feel like, and also maybe hopefully find something enjoyable out of it. And I think this is enjoyable. Would I recommend this film though? I would say, yeah, like especially if you're like a film nut, absolutely. If you're like your average movie-going audience, there's definitely enjoyment to be pulled from this, but I feel like the ending's going to take you out at some point. But I don't know. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I don't know. I would recommend this to basically anyone who likes noir or sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the kind of person that doesn't like either of those two genres, maybe you might not get much enjoyment out of this. But I feel like anyone who has at least a solid enjoyment of either noir or sci-fi or both of those genres, I think would enjoy this film. I mean, it depends on how into films you are, I think, in terms of how much you get out of it.
Yeah.
But you would get enjoyment out of it all the same as long as you are familiar with and you like the genre, I think.
Yeah, I would. You know what I see a lot of in this film as well is the game Inside. The guys who made Limbo.
Yeah,
If you know the game Limbo, they made a follow-up 2016 called Inside, and it's basically like Limbo 2.0 but better in every way. And honestly, it's a short game, masterpiece in my opinion. But man, it's a masterpiece basically. It's so good. And I see a lot of that in this game. Or excuse me, a lot of Dark City in this game. And I feel like with what media has come out, especially when you look at stuff like BioShock and Inside, and of course the adaptation of Sin City, I think that would be kind of my visual direction I would go. Like the same kind of style of the original, but kind of bring a little bit more of that foreboding, like, and that mundanity into this film. Like if they were to do a remake. But if you like stuff that we've mentioned already, I would highly recommend. Well, not highly, but I would recommend Dark City if that's the case. And also, like, if you watched iRobot and you like it, I would say this is this darker, older cousin that's not as entertaining, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
You know. As we get into spoilers, David, I do want to go through some of the stuff that I think inspired this film. But this is just what I saw. So I want to see what you think. And if you want to add anything to it. And the media I would include would be obviously Frank Miller's Sin City, 100%. 1927's Metropolis, definitely. And as well as Tim Burton's 89 Batman. As well as Scorsese's After Hours. And of course, Blade Runner. That's what I would include.
Yeah.
But is there anything that, I don't know, what do you see those in this? Do you see anything else in it?
Let's see. Yeah, I think that about sums it up for me. I do, if I remember correctly, I do think that the director actually explicitly mentioned Metropolis as an influence as well.
I didn't know that.
So that I would definitely have to agree with you on that one. It's yeah, but I can't think of anything else. Well, that I've seen personally, but like I know there was I was reading some stuff on this, like some stuff on this film, and someone mentioned it having similarities to Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which I haven't seen. And I looked it up, and I looked up some imagery from the film, and it actually...
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's pretty similar. And Brazil was released like, I want to say like 1985 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. The only Terry Gilliam film I've seen other than the Monty Python stuff is 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys. Huh. This is all foreign to me. Are these comedies?
You've never seen 12 Monkeys?
No, never. Is this the one in the... No, I'm thinking 12 Indians. No, that's not it.
No, these are both serious films.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So kind of like after the whole Python thing, he wanted to get into serious filmmaking.
Oh.
So he made a run of serious films, which have like, they're not like outright comedies. They're more like what you would call like a black comedy.
Okay, a dark, yeah.
But they're definitely the more serious and dark in nature. Brazil is one of them. I haven't seen it. But then there's 12 Monkeys, which stars Bruce Willis.
Whoa.
And it's about him as a time traveler traveling back into the past to try and stop a plague that basically causes civilization to end.
Interesting.
So he's like, they're like living in bunkers and like, you know, it's just like a horrible, dark, post-apocalyptic dystopian future. And apparently it was all started by this like plague. So he travels back in time to try and stop it from happening. And that is a very bizarre film. If you're into you want to see something
Weird.
some
Jacked up.
I wouldn't say it's jacked up. It's just very bizarre.
Bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
if you're
Bo is Afraid.
if you're into really bizarre films, I would recommend checking out 12 Monkeys. But yeah. I've read comparisons to Terry Gilliam's Brazil, but as far as stuff that I've actually seen or seen enough of to where I can have an opinion on it, you pretty much covered it.
All right. Well, yeah, let's get into the trivia and also spoilers going forward for the Dark City. You know, the Dark City. The good thing Sean Connery wasn't in this movie. Dark City. You know.
Or the Asian guy from South Park.
That as well. Yeah. Yeah, good thing. I wonder if, you know what, I was listening to a podcast, as a side tangent here. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying as they were filming the Superman Returns in like 04 and 05, they went to go see the Batman Begins. And they were as they were filming Superman Returns, and they went and they saw that and they said, oh, we're in a new age. Like, yeah, we had, of course, X-Men and the such, but and Spider-Man and some other examples, but that was the return of like DC specifically, going back to the Nolan thing. And that also, you know, as they were going out of the theater, they were saying, oh man, this is like, not only does this help us, but what an amazing movie. Like, so cool. So anyway, and then Superman Returns came out, and I don't remember much of that movie, but I hear not many good things about it.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it too. I just don't remember much.
Yeah, I don't have any. It didn't leave any impression on me whatsoever.
Isn't it funny though that Brandon Routh, who plays Superman, like he played Superman, and then we get him as the vegan superhero in Scott Pilgrim.
I've never noticed that.
What? Oh, dude.
I've never noticed that. That's so funny.
Yeah, and it's also cute that they brought him back as Superman as well and other things. So anyway, let's get into the trivia for Dark City. Number one. A number, I gotta zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's better. Oh yeah, my weak old eyes. I feel a lot better now.
Your weak 27-year-old eyes.
Yes.
Wait, are you 27 or 28?
I neither confirm nor deny. No, I'm joking. I'm 27.
Okay. I was like,
I really do need to go get my glasses checked or my eyes checked. I haven't had them checked since a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So it's been a while. But anyway, also I've negated doing that because they're expensive, and I've have the same cuts on my glasses from a year ago when I accidentally and unintentionally used what's that soap called? Lava soap on them, which was a big mistake.
Oh yeah.
That was, so I see blurry scratches every day in front of me. So all in good due time. Anyway, number one, a number of pieces of the set, including those used for the rooftop chase in Dark City, were sold to the production of The Matrix in 1999 at the end of shooting. Also, Matrix was 99. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Also funny, I just watched that for the first time this week. So it's kind of funny watching The Matrix and then watching this right after. So
yeah, that is.
It's funny timing.
Yeah, very unintentional.
Yeah. Like me and Frankie watched it, and then I said, hey, what do you decide? What do you want the two films to be? And then you said the Noir one. So we're like, oh yeah, let's do it. Number two, Alex Proyas felt the tuning effects, the spiral that comes out of Murdoch's forehead when he's tuning, in quotes, I guess that's the term for the mind control stuff.
Yeah.
Were heavy-handed and not to his liking. He mentioned how special effects, particularly CGI, have improved in the last 10 to 15 years after the premiere, and the director's cut was a way for him to improve on these effects. I'm curious to when the director's cut came out, actually.
Interesting that he says the director's cut improved the effects.
I know!
Because
makes me not want to watch the theatrical even more.
Yeah, because, like, what?
Yeah, what?
I can't even imagine if the theatrical version looked worse. I can't even imagine how it would have looked.
Yeah, so, well, continuing on, number three. This is a long one, so buckle in. Feedback received on Dark City's early test screenings were so dissimilar that Alex Proyas realized that this film would never be universally appreciated or even understood. He wanted to make a film that was open to interpretation, but he also understands how the studio has to look at the film. that they're going for the largest audience possible. He goes on to explain how easily you can gauge an audience opinion when they're watching your film and you're watching them. He goes in here and quotes, "I knew I was in trouble when I looked across the aisle and saw a couple guys in particular who were really not there. They were not in the movie." End quote. He does say there were no walkouts, just a general sense of not understanding the movie. Proyas note that this was the first time in his career someone told him he had to dumb it down. Interesting. Number 4, Roger Ebert called this movie the best film of 1998. He recorded a special audio commentary track for the DVD release.
Yeah, that's one thing too. When I was reading up on this film, it was like Roger Ebert, really, really loved it. And
everybody else hated it.
Well, no, they didn't hate it.
Oh, okay.
There was mixed reviews.
Yeah.
There was mixed reviews. Some liked it, some didn't, and there was kind of a range of opinions. Mm-hmm. And then you had all of those, and then just like Roger Ebert's like, best movie ever. Woo!
You know what makes me really want to see a movie nowadays, David? Is not only when the audience and the critics like agree, but especially when the critics lower that sucker rating back down like to like a 1 or 10% or whatever, what have you. But the audience is like super high. Like there's the huge discrepancy there. Just makes me really want to watch that movie for some reason. Anyway, also Roger Ebert included this on his great films in quotes list. All right, Roger. Number 5, this film deals with, and this was interesting when I read this, and I almost didn't include this, but I included it anyway because it's fascinating in a sense. So, number 5, this film deals with last Thursdayism, a philosophy described in a satiric comment by 20th century historian Bertrand Russell, referring to the Alphelius Papers in 1857 of Philip Gosset. Last Thursdayism says that the world, with us and our own basic memories included, could have been created recently, even last Thursday. But we cannot demonstrate such a thing because the world would have been created to look like an older world. And this whole concept reminded me of just The Matrix in general. Like in that, when you watch The Matrix, the last Thursdayism as a concept really is strongly there. And I feel like that's definitely one thing the Wachowskis, for lack of a better term, stole. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I would have to agree. Yeah. I don't want to say they stole it. I mean,
inspired, you know?
Yeah, they're just like heavily inspired.
Well, speaking of heavily inspired, number 6, Alex Proyas mentioned his fascination with water and how he loves shooting water. One day during filming, the production team had wet down a street to make it look more visually appealing. William Hurt was confused and asked why. And it was described to him by Alex. Oh, because the reason why William Hurt was confused is because in the film, I guess it's made known that the strangers don't like water, which I did not catch on the viewing. But anyway, so William Hurt was asking Alex Proyas, the director, why. And Alex responded with, and my response to that, of course, was, well, because it looks cool. Which I don't think was a great answer. End quote. Proyas also notes the strangers have a fear of water, but since it's a human necessity, they couldn't construct the city without water. Sure. All right. That makes sense.
Well, yeah,
it makes sense, I guess. Yeah, it makes sense.
Like when you look at the design of the city, like things that involve water are either on the outskirts of the city, like there's that little like almost like that little shipping dock that leads to nowhere. And then you have like the pool house where what's his face? Kiefer Sutherland's character
that's true.
likes to hang out
and
in.
They walk around it.
But other than that, you don't see any water fixtures. No ponds, no fountains, nothing like that.
Were we watching this, or was it a different movie I was watching recently where somebody flew into a water tower and then it exploded? Was it this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, it was. Okay, I was like,
yeah, they.
I don't know I don't know if it's something else or not.
Yeah, he like force catapults one of the strangers into the water tower and blows it up. And
maybe the combination between his skin and the body of the stranger with the water just makes him explode.
Which that's actually, but when he does that, when he does that, that's actually the scene where you see the alien entity that the strangers actually are get forcibly removed from the human body that it's inhabiting, and then shrivels up and dies.
Yeah, I forgot about that moment. Thank you, David. Thank you. Number 7. Alex Proyas mentions he knew who Rufus Sewell, who plays John Murdoch, was before Dark City, but he also recognizes how most audience didn't at the time. He felt it was important for Murdoch to be played by someone who people did not recognize, and this was a conscious choice given how little Murdoch knows about himself and how little the audience knows about the character as well.
Very effective choice because, like, I know I've seen him somewhere, but I literally could not pick out where I recognized him from.
The only thing I remember seeing him in was The Illusionist with Edward Norton. You ever watch that?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, it's got Edward Norton, Paul Giamatti. It's like you can watch that and The Prestige and you can get confused if they're the same movie or not, basically. Because they're in the same like style, the same era. And they both have to do with magicians.
Yeah, okay. When you said The Illusionist, I was actually thinking of The Prestige. Which I haven't watched, but I haven't sat down and watched it, but I've seen like little bits of it.
It's like The Prestige, but a very happy ending.
Okay.
And Paul Giamatti's just great. So anyway.
You mean the guy from Big Fat Liar?
Dude, we have to do that for 2 films. I don't even know what it'd be. Blue People movie?
2 films.
We need to see. Yeah, what would
2 films with Paul Giamatti and whatever the name. I can't even remember the name
2
of the
films with Paul Giamatti and he lies in it. Could we do that in The Leftovers?
Oh, you know what we got to do?
What do we got to do?
It's got to be Big Fat Liar and no.
I'm glad I swallowed my water before you.
Hear me out on this.
Thank you.
And
I'll hear you out.
So the movie that that old movie, I think it starred Shia LaBeouf. I haven't seen it in such a long time, so I can't exactly remember who the star is, but I think it was Shia LaBeouf, and it's where he gets like a watch that can stop time.
A watch? A watch that can stop time?
Or some kind of gadget that stops time.
Are you thinking about Cody Banks?
No.
Okay.
And it features Smash Mouth songs in the soundtrack.
Oh, what is this movie? I'm trying to think of what you got. Okay, you want to look it up while we go into the next trivia thing?
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated.
And the only reason I say that is because those 2 movies are like burned in my brain together. Because as a child, I remember my parents brought home the DVDs like together. They bought them together.
They brought 2 films back.
And we watched them back to back.
Oh, so maybe we'll have to do 2 childhood films. 2 of David's childhood films that were 2 films.
And they're like, neither of them are what I would call great movies.
Yeah.
But like, for whatever reason, though, they're like burned into my brain as like 2 sides of the same coin. I don't know why.
Yeah. I love Big Fat Liar. It was funny. I was hanging out with a friend recently and she had a thumb drive with a bunch of MP4s on it. And one of them was Big Fat Liar. And I'm like, oh, we got to click on that. And so I clicked on it and we skimmed through it. And I'm like, where's the scenes where he's blue? And I skipped to it and it randomly was into a part where he was blue and he was almost getting run over by a monster truck. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this movie. I have a very big soft spot for that film. I don't know why. It's also a good historical piece because it tours the behind the scenes of Universal Studios, which burned down many years after that film came out. So it's kind of like an archival piece in a way, even if it's not a fantastic film. But I'll read number 8 here. In the film's original theatrical release, Emma Murdoch, Jennifer Connelly, is depicted as a singer in a nightclub, of course. The songs were sung by Anita Kelsey and Jennifer Connelly lip syncing. However, in the director's cut, Jennifer's vocals are used instead of the singer they hired, which is really cool. So actually, I was wondering that when we were watching this. I thought that, oh, Jennifer Connelly is like lip syncing maybe? She's got to be. But no, that's actually her singing in the director's cut.
Interesting.
So, that's cool.
So I found it. It's
found
Clock Stoppers, and it doesn't start.
What? Can you say that one more time?
Clock Stoppers.
That's not Shia LaBeouf.
No, it's not Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, it's Clock. I watched that film. I know what you're talking about.
It's
It's
Jesse Bradford.
You never heard of the fella.
Yeah.
2002. Dude, you know who directed it, David? Oh my God.
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes, man! Holy crap! Oh, we gotta watch it now. This movie's ass, by the way. Like, I remember watching it when I was a kid, and I was like, this is not a good movie.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
2 films that are ass.
2 films that are straight ass.
Just straight ass, you know, not full ass, not half ass, straight ass. Maybe we could do a trilogy of podcasts: 2 full ass movies, 2 half assed movies, and 2 straight ass movies. Maybe not full ass. I don't.
No, like good ass movies.
Good ass movies.
2 good ass movies, 2 half ass movies,
and 2 straight ass movies.
There we go.
There we go. We got it. All right, dude. Jonathan Frakes, bro. That's awesome. Jesse Bradford. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
I didn't even know Jonathan Frakes directed anything.
Me neither. I was like, I know he did some episodes of some shows, I think, but that's about it.
The only thing I know that he was in other than Star Trek was some kind of like unsolved mystery paranormal show that he was like the host of.
Yeah, it's that it's memed in eternity now, but
Yes.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't even know what that show was called. Shout out to the Snarp Fangle who's going to write in the comments of what that show was that Jonathan Frakes was in. I think he actually did direct some episodes of Next Generation though, like toward the end of it.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did.
Yeah, kind of like how Ron Howard directed a bunch of Happy Days episodes after like he wanted to leave, but they wouldn't let him. So he's like, well, let me direct the episodes. And they're like, all right, cool. So then he directed Happy Days. All right, continuing on. Number 9, it was a surprise to Alex Proyas that this is really interesting. It was a surprise to Alex Proyas that Kiefer Sutherland ended up in the Dr. Schreber role. Sutherland mentioned to the director that when he received the script, he didn't understand why it came to him. He thought it was a mistake and that they had wanted his father, Donald Sutherland. Instead, Proyas didn't take Sutherland the role seriously at first, but met the actor anyway. This meeting completely turned Proyas around in his opinion on that role. Specifically Kiefer for that role.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland kind of like steals the show.
He's really good.
He's like the best character in the whole film.
Yeah, and also as mentioned here, Schreber was intended to be an older fella, but after Kiefer's audition, he totally changed it just for Kiefer. What an interesting name, Kiefer. I wouldn't name my kid that, but interesting. David, would you name your kid Kiefer? Kiefer Reed? I feel bad for that kid.
Yeah, no. That's
There's names I hear where I just feel bad for the person as a kid. I'm like, man, you must have been made fun of so much in school.
Yeah.
Anyways, don't name your kids Kiefer unless it sounds cool. Kiefer.
Unless it sounds cool, which it doesn't, so don't do it.
Kiefer Killington?
No.
Kiefer Smith? Kiefer Smith's not bad.
There's no universe where Kiefer is an acceptable first name for an adult human.
Nor is Sutherland, to be honest.
But I mean, his father's name is pretty cool. Donald Sutherland.
That's a cool name. Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland is not a cool name.
Yeah.
But he's a great actor, so he gets a pass.
He gets a pass, yeah. All right, anyway, number 10. The first draft of the script by Alex Proyas was vastly different from the finished film. Notable aspects of the initial script included an evil robotic puppy accompanying the strangers.
What?
Which would savagely attack. This is one of those where I'm like, is this IMDb accurate? Which I don't think it is. Also, I actually went through and proofread all these questions, so I didn't make any flubs. So anyway,
I'm like, now that you said that, I'm like half expecting you to read one where it's like, in another deleted scene, a resurrected Adolf Hitler dons a mech suit to fight against our hero.
And it turns into Wolfenstein 3D. Okay. So yeah, the initial script had an evil robotic puppy, not dog, puppy, accompanying the strangers, which would attack savagely with its steel jaws. Would actually, that gives me a lot of Bioshock energy, which could be kind of cool, but nah. A climactic trial for John Murdoch. The reanimated, and in this trial, the reanimated corpses of his victims would testify against Murdoch, as well as John's wife, who's Jennifer Connelly's character. So there's this whole trial basically planned at the end of the movie, and they took it out for many reasons, I would guess.
Yeah.
Like the strangers, like it introduces many problems with the plot, which I'm glad they took out. But a puppy? A robot puppy? Interesting.
I mean, I guess one of the strangers was in a child's body.
True, which is also really weird and creepy.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Like, I was reading one of the interpretations of like the film, like, and it was like people were like one of the common sort of interpretations of like how the humans actually got there, kind of a thing. And somebody like, I can't remember who, I think it was actually Goyer. I think it was David Goyer, said that his interpretation was that it was like they weren't literally kidnapped by space aliens, but it was like more of like a purgatory.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down here.
Which is kind of interesting because that kind of like ignores the like plot from the movie, because they literally say that the strangers use the corpses of the city's dead as their vessels so they can walk around in human form.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole thing being like an allegory for the underworld kind of breaks down when you have that literal piece of exposition stuck in the film. So I thought that was kind of a strange thing that someone who was, would come up with that, especially if it was David Goyer. I don't remember if it was David Goyer, but
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who was actually
took a more
worked on the
approach.
film.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also when asked, Alex Proyer, that was in the DVD commentary, by the way, that Goyer mentioned that. And Alex mentioned he believed, in his interpretation of the film, which he's the director, I guess, believed the humans were on board an interstellar ship, which was captured by the strangers. And that's why it's this weird thing. But I like Goyer's better.
I mean, I kind of like it, but it also doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't, but it's kind of cool.
My thought when I first watched this was, it was like, I imagined it like they lived on Earth, and maybe Earth was like, maybe it was like a post-apocalyptic Earth or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't, but either way, they lived on Earth and the strangers abducted them and took them to a far corner of space to begin their experiments.
Yeah, that's something I wish we would have seen in this film. Like, I wish we would have seen, and honestly, we don't have to see it, but there's ways you can communicate this kind of concept too.
Well, I think it's better that I think it's better that we don't, just because it makes it adds a lot of depth to the movie, I feel, because when Kiefer Sutherland's character, Dr. Schreiber.
Okay. We'll go with that.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Schreiber is how it looks like it's spelled, but
is talking about how this all came to be. He mentions that he was allowed to keep his identity, like his memories, intact, and he didn't have to like get swapped around with the rest of them because they needed his scientific skills.
Yeah.
But he also mentions that they made him erase all of his other memories.
Interesting.
So he's like this collaborator with their oppressor. He's like, the Jew who like delivers over the other Jews, to the Nazis, kind of a thing at first.
Mm-hmm.
and then when is pressed and like, for answers by the main character, like, I need to know what is this world that we're living in? Tell me. You work with them. Tell me. And we get to this point where it's like, actually, he's just as much of a prisoner as the rest of them, and he doesn't have any extra answers or special revelation for our main character because the strangers made him erase all of his memories too.
Makes me think if they ever remade this, would they add something dumb like, oh, there's multiple collaborators with the strangers, and those are the people who are in power in Dark City, like the mob leaders, the mayor, or what have you, the sheriff, the DA, that kind of stuff. But their prior memories were erased, but they work for the strangers. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it would be more generic, I guess. This is way more, like you said, it's kind of original for its own sake, and it gets in its way. I would say yes, like it's abstract and it's abstract and original for its own sake as well. Like I would bring that into it. It's just very abstract, and that's what threw me off. But it's unique and it's cool, so I'll give it that. We're almost done. Number 12. Some have asked Alice Proyas why the strangers didn't get rid of Walensky, the former investigator who went mad and who knows something otherworldly is going on. The director points out that leaving him in the experiment was something of an experiment in and of itself to see how Walensky would react and how people would react to him. I'm calling BS on this. I don't think that's the case. I think this is just the director covering a plot hole, in all honesty.
I don't know.
Maybe there was a reason from one of the writers, but during this whatever interview Alex was answering on, I think he was like, oh, it's because of this.
Well, I don't know, because that's the thing is it's mentioned that Murdoch and him aren't actually all that special. Like he mentions that people just wake up from time to time during the changeover or whatever. I think they had a word for it, but
like another Matrix reference. I'm not the one.
But in the case of Walensky and Murdoch, they actually managed to escape from before they could be put back to sleep, and the process finished. And then out of the two of them, Murdoch is the only one who's a threat to their system. Because Walensky's just a crazy guy.
Interesting. Yeah, the more I think about this, as we talk more about it, the more I get from the film in the sense of the more I like it. Like, I like that aspect of it. Like, they're not very special or whatever, but maybe you can make the argument of maybe the humans are like, what would be cool is if they could have had this in there and I'm just missing it, but the concept of the reason why they're capturing these humans is for whatever reason, right? But the humans are more powerful than the aliens, and the aliens know it. They're just keeping them at bay and subjecting them to this reality they're in for whatever reason, like it's mentioned in the film.
Well, they do have, they do have, the humans do have something that the strangers want.
Oh, a body.
And that, no, individuality.
Oh.
So.
Wait, can you explain that?
So this
I think I missed this.
I mean, it's
well, like they're people.
It's pretty heavily explained.
Okay.
But maybe you zoned out at the exact right moments.
Probably. I do that.
And but anyway, so basically the idea is the strangers are kind of like the Borg.
Yeah.
They're a collective race.
Yeah.
Their memories and their sense of self are all of them mixed together as one collective. And so what they want out of the humans is they essentially want a soul, quote unquote. They want to know the secret of becoming like their own individuals with their own personalities, and they think the key is in memories. So that's why they're swapping around everyone's memories, and because they're essentially like trying to see, okay, if I give this person this set of memories, does this person become the sum of their memories? So that's what they want, is they want the individuality that humans have, because they Kiefer Sutherland explains it at the end that their race is actually dying.
Oh, okay.
I
didn't catch that.
They're in decline, and they need something to to stop them from declining, and they have this idea that if they can unlock what makes humans individuals, what the human soul is, and if they can acquire that for themselves somehow, they can save their race. And so they think the key to the human soul is in these memories. So that's why they take all these memories and they distill them down to individual elements, like, you know, your father died, or your house burned down, or, you know, all these different elements, and they piece them together to create a backstory and a persona, and then they implant them into these people, and they see how it plays out, and then they rejigger everything and do it all over again.
Interesting.
And the whole quest is they're looking for the human soul. And the one that they implant with Murdoch's memories, or what the set of memories that they were going to give Murdoch, because they think it'll help him find him, they like, he actually, in the conversation with Jennifer Connelly's character, with Murdoch's wife, he mentions like the idea of, like, he's like, imagine if you were like you were a collective and all you had was just the memories of your collective. And then she's like, well, like, if that's all you knew, I guess you wouldn't, you'd be used to it. And then he says something like, but what if you found something better? Leaning to the idea of, because they tried implanting human memories into their own before, but it always ended badly. So they tried it one last time and it worked for a little bit, but it's revealed at the end of the movie that the injection is killing him slowly. And so it works for a little bit, and he actually, like, in having his own individual memories, it like kind of unlocks something for him. He's like, wow, this is better. And of course, the overall message of the movie is that humans are more than just the sum of their experiences. But it's kind of funny that the one who's allowed to, the one of the strangers who is allowed to experience individuality in that form, is still finds it better, even though that's not actually what makes humans humans.
It's interesting because, as you were saying that, I was thinking about something they could add to the film. And maybe I'm not saying they should, but there's some things that are bouncing around in my brain, like they're trying to find somebody to carry on, or like manifest more efficiently into humans, where they can carry on their race for longer, kind of like the Borg. Like, they find that special somebody who's like, whoa, this human's like a genius, or is the one, in quotes, and we can inhabit this person and we can carry on our race even further. And this is like our experiment to find that person. That's what I'm thinking. And the way you do this is not just doing a Dark City, but you do Bright City, you do Neon City, you do all these different like amalgamations, because the whole concept of this Dark City is that it can form into into things. So take that concept and run with it. You have a period of testing with all these humans, with a Dark City, with a Hawaiian setting, with a beach setting, with like a 1920s setting, with a futuristic setting, to see if you can find and manifest the memories or like personality out of these humans that carry on from Dark City to Hawaiian City to 1920s to futuristic.
Yeah, one of the things
that would be a cool thing.
One of the things, though, too,
and you can inhabit the whole Nolan thing of, man, I had a dream last night, man. I was a detective in the 20s. And I said, hey, babe, how you doing? And then, like, he's telling his dream to, our John Murdoch. And he's like, what a fascinating dream. And sometimes it's different, but it's the same thing over and over. And it's like that whole concept could run.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing is, too, that speaks to this movie's sort of singular vision that it has, in that the idea that it's a dark city all the time is like baked into deep into the storyline.
Yeah.
Because for one, the strangers don't like light.
Yeah.
And for another thing too is there's the whole concept of they like their world was the world that these humans inhabit was formed like literally yesterday, but they live as if they've been the identities and memories they've been given the whole, for their whole lives.
Mm. But
like when you try to zero in on something concrete in your memories, all of a sudden it's fuzzy. You see this with him trying to get to Shell Beach. Everyone he asks, how do you get to Shell Beach? They're like, oh yeah, Shell Beach. Yeah. You take and then as they try to think about it, they're like, wait
a second.
I can't actually remember
how.
Or another thing is like, he's talking to the inspector, William Hurt's character, and he's like, when's the last time you remember doing anything in the daylight? And of course, they have distant memories of doing things in the daylight, just like John Murdoch has distant memories of running around on Shell Beach. But when Murdoch tells him, no distant memory, just like, I'm talking about like last Thursday or like a month ago or a day ago or whatever. When was the last time you did anything during the daylight? All of a sudden the inspector is like, I don't actually know.
Yeah. And isn't that a plot point with the whole clock and, well, it's 12 o'clock a.m. or p.m.? Like, isn't that the whole concept of that? Like, they reset stuff at 12 a.m. Or no, they reset stuff at 12. And then that's like the beginning of the night or whatever for everybody.
Yeah. And it's like, he actually asks his Uncle Carl at one point. He looks at the clock. He's like, what time is it? And the uncle like points at the clock. He's like, AM or PM? And the uncle's like, well, what do you think? And he just doesn't think about it any more deeply than that.
It's really cool. And I was reading one last thing in the trivia, I guess we could add in, is I was reading some of it, and it said that Alex Proyer in the director's cut, in the reflection of the water in the end, you can see like glimpses of a moon above them, and that's where they're getting their light. But that means that it's not a rotating city, right? So it's just flat, right? So that means they're getting sunlight that they're underneath, bouncing off of a moon that's reflecting onto the city. So they're staying away from the sunlight, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird thing too. It's like, you're not really sure where their light comes from, because like all you see is like a starry sky basically.
Yeah.
And then the only glimpse of any like singular light source you see is at the end when the Murdoch remakes the world or remakes the city. He adds a sun that kind of rotates around vertically around the city so that it can rise, travel through the sky, and then set at the end of the day.
Yeah. What an interesting film, Dark City. Any final words, David? Or I think I might just leave it there. I'd recommend it. It's very fascinating.
Yes.
Film.
Great film. Flawed.
Yes.
But ultimately worth watching.
Yeah, it's almost to that point of flawed masterpiece, but it could be seen as a masterpiece. I don't know. There's a lot of flawed masterpieces out there. I wouldn't say this is a flawed masterpiece, but I think it's pretty much nearly there. Like, it's touching masterpiece, but it's very, very flawed. Drunken Angel, David. No. The movie's just called Drunken Angel, not Drunken Angel David. So, all right. So we got Drunken Angel here as our second film. In a post-World War II Japan, we follow a strict and angry doctor that forms a bond with a small-town Yakuza who negates the doctor's advice after being diagnosed with tuberculosis. While both of these violent and impatient fellas butt heads, our Yakuza friend descends ever closer to death. Directed by Akira Kurosawa, written by, and I just want to apologize to the audience if I mispronounce any names. But here we go. We're doing it anyway. Directed by Akira Kurosawa, written by Akira Kurosawa and his writing partner and lifelong friend, Kinose Sake. I'm going to say, let's see, Kenosuke Ukuza. Okay. Starring, here we go, Takashi Shimura, Toshirô Mifune, Rizaburo Yamamoto, Michio Kagure, and Chiko Nakakita. All right. I think
you
pretty
you
good.
done it.
Yeah.
You done did it.
Budget of unknown origin and a box office of worldwide of roughly $47,000. Runtime, 1 hour, 42 minutes, and released in the year of 1948.
Indeed.
David, what are our thoughts of Drunken Angel?
Great movie. I feel like this definitely falls into that sort of flawed masterpiece category.
Yeah.
In that it's the cinematography is so good, the acting is so good. It's just it's held back a little bit by, I think, the story lacks depth, and I think the technology of 1948 did not allow for the kind of atmosphere and imagery that I think Kurosawa probably wanted this film to have. But yeah, it's definitely a great film if you can get past just how old it is.
Yeah, it's an old Japanese film. 1948's the year. It's black and white, 4:3 aspect ratio. It's also free on YouTube if you're curious. So if you want to take an afternoon and watch it, or an evening, go for it. Yeah, I think this film's actually pretty dang good. After we watched it last night, I was like, that's pretty interesting. But as I was doing some research and looking some stuff up about it, I'm like, man, there is some really cool aspects to this film, and more than I thought there were. The first one is, of course, the relationship between Sanada and Matsunaga. Like that, the whole relationship between the doctor and the gangster is pretty fascinating to me, because it's like this hard ass doctor dude who's like is just so like angry and impatient, and you should do what's right. And the Yakuza, who's like this younger fella who's like, I need some help. I'm going to die, you know? And he's like, you need to do this, otherwise you're going to die. And the guy's like, but that means giving up my lifestyle. And he refuses to do so. And I just think that whole dynamic, and at the same, even though they're yelling at each other and the doctor's constantly chucking stuff at the guy, that whole relationship's really fascinating, because you get them being mad at each other and, you know, choking each other. But then you also get to the scenes where Matsunaga comes to his house drunk and is just, you know, is completely wiped out and plastered. But he says, now let's get this man a blanket, give him some water. And he genuinely takes care of him. And he loves him, especially as you go through the film. And he wants what's best for him, not just as a patient, but I would say more as a brother as the film goes on. Even if he doesn't, you know, as a man, he doesn't show his emotions, but he does it through action.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that was like really quite striking about this film is like what's his name? Mifune?
Yeah, Toshirô Mifune, yeah.
His like the sort of brooding, dark sort of presence that he has.
Dude.
And it's like, this is a film from 1948.
Yeah. And there was some shots where we were talking about it. I'm like, man, some of these shots are like, they stand up today. Like they're very, profound, you know. And on Mifune, I want to say, like, the thing that pops up to me about him is that I heard it described while doing some research that his performance was described as athletic agility and cat-like movement.
Hmm.
And you know what that reminds me? He not only brings like a great, an immense amount of energy to his role, but with that, it kind of reminds me of Jimmy Stewart a lot, like a Japanese Jimmy Stewart. Like, this guy has range, he's very physical, and he also delivers the emotionality very well. Just like Jimmy Stewart in Philadelphia Story, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, as well as, of course, It's a Wonderful Life. And like, he also kind of looks like Jimmy Stewart. Like the scene in the end where he's like pointing the knife at the dude, it sure looks from behind like Jimmy Stewart. He's tall, lanky, that kind of thing as well. Big Jimmy Stewart vibes. And he's just a dang good actor. Like, and I've never seen Seven Samurai. I've never seen any Akira Kurosawa stuff. But this is probably a really good jumping in point.
Well, to be fair, this was essentially the start of a long working relationship between Mifune and Kurosawa.
Yeah, that too. Like, this was the first film they were both collaborated on. The dude who plays the doctor who, what's his name? I'd have it right here. Takashi Shimura. He also was in the prior works of Akira Kurosawa, but then also was part of the company as his career went on and was with him till Akira's end, basically. Like, they worked, same thing with Mifune. Like, they worked forever together. But seeing this being the film where that relationship between Mifune and Akira started is really interesting, because you see like I haven't seen Seven Samurai. I haven't seen any of the other stuff, or Yojimbo or whatever. But to see the like you say, the brooding and darkness that he brings to this role really makes me want to watch what he's actually famous for going forward, you know? Because all the other stuff he did, that's what he's known for. He's the samurai actor, as everybody would say. But to find out that this is basically like Scorsese and De Niro, that kind of level where it's Akira and Toshirô, is really cool.
Yeah. And you know what's funny too is I feel like Mifune could have actually done a lot more, but I feel like he was kind of a little bit hamstrung by Kurosawa's vision for the character, because there's just so many scenes of him just being a drunken asshole.
Yeah.
And it's like, those scenes kind of, like, you can't be dark and brooding and when you're supposed to be acting like a drunken asshole. Like, it doesn't work. So I feel like what he brought to the table was like, he put it in where he could.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the film itself wasn't a great vehicle for that.
Yeah.
So we don't get like the full picture of what he's capable of.
But we get a good window into what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the end. Dude, when the end happened and they go in that hallway and the paint spilled, it's a little maybe hokey. I don't know, like some of the movements. But you could tell, like, given better technology and camera movement in that technology, oh man, they could have made some really banger with that whole scene, like a fight scene or what have you. But even then, like, without that, like, being a reality, what they were able to do was definitely very commendable, and also sort of modern in the way that whole scene is handled in the end. And also the way it ends is really interesting. And
speaking of the ending,
let's just spoil it. Let's get into it.
Speaking of the ending, not necessarily gonna say what happens,
not
but
gonna say,
I guess the ending was
no spoilers. We're good.
Censor mandated.
Yes. Oh wait, I don't think so.
That's what I read.
Well, I think I don't know if that. I don't know, honestly, but I heard that there was a lot of things that he was able to get away with in this film because of the lack of censorship.
Well,
because this is post World War II, and America was definitely occupying Japan.
Yeah, but like in
But
1948, like the Hays Code or whatever was still in effect at this point.
I think so. But I heard
So even if it was an American thing, like the Hays
Mhm.
Code was still in effect, and I I can't imagine that in 1948 there was absolutely zero censorship
no,
in the
there's no
film at
zero
all.
censorship.
But
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it could be wrong. It could be wrong.
yeah,
But from
yeah.
what I read,
Uh-huh.
the ending, like the sort of hopeful uplift that
Mm.
the ending has to it uh was
Was like
uh
a mandate.
was mandated by the censors to
I
sort
don't.
of counter the dark, depressing mood of the rest of the movie.
That doesn't sound right.
Because I mean, like the same thing happened with Blade Runner. The
Hmm.
studio is like, no way, this is way too dark. We got to get Harrison Ford back in here to record a voiceover to explain that no, actually everything worked out perfectly in the end.
Let's see. Did I? I don't
And
think I
that
put
was
it in
in
here.
that was in the 80s, you
Yeah,
know?
that was in the 80s. Yeah.
So I can
I don't think I have
imagine
it here.
I can imagine a board of film censors uh back in 1948 saying, no, this is too dark. Give us a little bit of hope at the end, kind of a thing. Because that's the thing is back in the day, they were like the whole reason why film censorship exists in the first place is they were very concerned about um what effect films would have on the culture. It's
Yeah.
not that they just didn't want to, it's not that they just wanted to bleep out the swear words and cover up the boobies. Um, they film censorship was such a big deal in the early 20th century because people were concerned overall about the cultural impact that films would have.
Mm.
So I can easily imagine in like, this is post World War II Japan we're talking about here. I can easily imagine a board of film censors being like, no, this is too depressing for our people to see. You need to put some happiness in there at the end.
Mm. Well, this is strictly just. I'm going to read this, but it's strictly just from Wikipedia. So, take it with what you have. But it says here Kurosawa slipped several references to the occupation, all of them negative, past the censors. The opening scene in the film features unlicensed prostitutes known as Pan girls who cater to American soldiers. The gangsters and their girlfriends all wear westernized clothing and hairstyles. Kurosawa was not allowed to show burned out building in the black market slum set, and he did heavily feature the poisonous bog at the center of the district. English language signage was also not allowed, but the markets on several examples of English usage on their signs. The dance scene in the nightclub features an original composition of the blah blah blah, blah blah blah. There's some Americanized music, basically. That's all I'm reading here. I don't know about the ending though.
Yeah, I think it was in a review of it.
Oh,
And it wasn't just like
hmm.
some user on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It was like a professional review.
Okay. Yeah.
So I kind of assumed the information was legit, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I remember I was watching a video breaking down some of the behind the scenes of this film, and they said there was some jabs that they had at the American, just America in general, that got that slipped past the censors apparently. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't have an exact example of that really. Like I don't think the ending. I'll explain why, and we can spoil it here if you want. But I don't think the ending is mandated at all. I think it could be an allegory for the old is dying and the old oh dang it, now I'm saying it, I think you're right, it might be. Because it's the old war-stricken mindset is being torn away and dying. The doctor even says it to the Okada in the movie, like, hey, your old ways aren't going to work here anymore. This is a different land. After Okada broke out of prison and went to his house. It's about the old dying and the new generation rising up after that. So there is somewhat sort of hope. But would that be mandated from America? Would that serve
No,
America's
no.
purpose, or would it serve Japan's purpose, or both?
Um No, I don't think it was mandated by Americans. I'm talking about a Japanese board of film censors.
I thought you were talking about Americans.
No. Like I'm talking about.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm talking about a Japanese board of film censors.
Yeah.
It could be that.
I think he slipped it past them. I think he
well,
was
I mean,
able.
he definitely slipped a lot of things past the censors.
So one second, pause. This makes total sense. That a lot of this stuff was probably his own creation, because during 1947 and 8, when this was being filmed, Japan didn't really have a whole lot of staff in the censor department. I bet, like they were kind of dealing with other things in the country at the time. Like I'm sure he was able to just get stuff passed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clear that he did get stuff passed if this information is correct.
Correct.
It's clear that he did get stuff passed, but my thought is that he was probably told by the censor board to give it a happy or a hopeful ending, and he worked his magic and made it fit very well within the overall theme of the movie, like you explained. So I think it was. My guess is that it was a case of he was sort of doing the best he could with the guidelines he was given, but because this is Akira Kurosawa, we're talking about, he did a very, very good job of it.
Yeah, and it suits the film really well from what you see. And it's something I didn't really get immediately after watching it. I had to go watch a video on this film, like I didn't do it with Dark City, funnily enough, but I did do it with this, where I'm like, what am I missing? Like, why do people like this film? And so I watched a video essay from this dude, and he got some really interesting insight, and that's where I got about the censor thing. And I went on Wikipedia here just now, and I guess that might be where he got it. I don't think so. But yeah, it's interesting, like the culture of it all, this being right after World War II. You can also, the essay I was watching, the guy also brought up the fact that his prior films before this, one was a propaganda film, and the other two were like just his prior work. And after the war, all of his work took on a total turn, and which makes a lot of sense, obviously. But to get stuff like this, and then all the samurai stuff like Yojimbo, Seven Samurai, like these, what's considered masterpieces of that day, and even today they're considered masterpieces, is really fascinating to ponder. So anyway, yeah, it's a really interesting concept, like with the doctor and the Yakuza guy. The cinematography framing, I would consider like is pretty modern.
Yeah.
Like you could probably compare this to some older like American films back in the day, but you brought up a shot specifically, and you can tell about it if you want, but there's several moments in this movie where it's just beautiful to look at. And also you're looking at just the ugliness of everything, and it really shows it well. Like the one with Okada and the guitar you brought up, if you want to describe that.
Oh yeah. Okada, he, so there's this, guitar player who just plunks out, a plaintive melody on his guitar, same melody every night. And then one night, we're not immediately told it's Okada, but you can guess from the context. One night Okada shows up, and he motions to give him the guitar, and the guitar player reluctantly agrees, hands it over. And then Okada goes and sits in this little cutout in the stone wall and plays a song that is later revealed to be his favorite tune. And as he's doing it, you see like this. He's dressed in a very traditional Japanese attire, and he's sitting in this cutout in this dirty, old-looking stone wall, but it perfectly frames a shot of a distant nightclub with the neon signs lit up. It's a very, very good shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you brought it up, and I'm like, oh, well, let's rewind it and see. And we really took a good look at it, and what a shot. What a picture. What's another thing here? the whole aspect of Okada is really interesting. The concept of this film, first off, again, the young Yakuza guy who runs that part of the town or that district, and the doctor butting heads. But then you get the aspect of an older, original leader of that district getting out of jail, coming back, and taking everything that was given to, what's his name? Matsunaga.
Yeah.
Matsunaga, yeah. So that whole, and how the story goes after that's really interesting. Like, he's almost on the up and up. He's gonna start changing. And then Okada comes in and he totally, like, reverts to his original lifestyle. And it's really, really cool. Like, that whole concept and everything. And then, of course, David, we get the She-Panther scene.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about the She-Panther scene. You get this nightclub scene after Okada comes back. And man, you get this Japanese chick singing, "I'm a She-Panther." And it goes on for quite a while. Maybe longer than it should have. But maybe just the right amount of weird in that scene. Now, of course, it's been noted that the scene is a version of the song Jungle Boogie, the version of Jungle Boogie that was back in the day, not the Kool and the Gang. Not Jungle Boogie. This is a different song that was sung in jazz clubs, apparently. And this is the Japanese rendition of it in this film. From actually, I'll take it right here. It was sung by Shizoko Kasagi. And she sang it in the nightclub sequence, and she was a popular jazz singer in Japan. But her career suffered during World War II because it was tainted by associations with the musical idioms of the enemy, the US, right? But after the war, as American GIs occupied Japan, American music became popular again. And thus her career took off after that. So pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But what do you think of this She-Panther scene?
Yeah, this scene is one of those things that kind of, it really dates the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is a product of 1948. But it's very hokey.
Yeah.
It's very hokey. But it's one of those things. It's like, you know, this, I would consider this movie to be like a flawed masterpiece.
Uh-huh.
So it's you just got to kind of take the good with the bad here, because overall it's a great film.
Yeah.
But yeah, this scene is bizarre, to say the least.
It's bizarre. It does serve a purpose, though. It showcases how Okada has taken back what was his. You know, by taking literally the same woman that, Matsunaga hangs out with and taking her back, as well as him being just down on his luck, plastered yet again, and then dancing with whoever's next to him.
Yeah, no, the overall context of the scene, yes, I totally agree.
It serves a purpose.
It serves a purpose.
But
there's a lot of emotional tension going on. It's really great from a character's perspective, but the actual song and dance sequence just really didn't need to be there, or at the very least, it should have been a highly cut down version of it.
Yeah, they should have took notes from It's a Wonderful Life, where they dance in the high school gymnasium, and they should have added something else. They should have added the floor opening and it's a swimming pool, or cutting that scene down. But yeah, a scene where a bunch of people are hanging out and dancing, it's a subject of its time. That's for sure. She-Panther. Dude, when she starts singing in English and she says, "I'm a She-Panther," and I just lost it. I'm like, this is amazing. I love this so
They didn't
much.
sing in English.
Oh, she didn't?
No, it was the subtitles.
Oh man, my brain is like picturing it in English. I think she said She-Panther.
Well, it's because I said She-Panther. Because because one of the lines of the song.
So we're clear, it's all in Japanese.
Yeah, this is all in Japanese.
It's all in Japanese.
One of the lines, translated lines in the song is "I'm a She-Panther."
Okay, maybe I just took it.
So as soon as that popped up, I was just like, "Oh my god!" So I said it out loud. I was like, "She-Panther." I'm a She-Panther, because I just could not believe that was actually a line that I was seeing on the screen.
It comes out of nowhere, man. It hits you like a slap in the face of a cold steak, man. Oh man. Well, moving on.
Yes.
The acting, great. Cinematography, directing, great. The ending, I liked.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think it was handled very, very well.
Yeah, whether or not it was actually mandated by the censors, Kurosawa did a very good job on the ending.
Yeah, he took it, and if it was mandated, he did a really good job incorporating the whole thing. But it's still incredibly sad.
Yeah, it offers hope, but
Yeah, it's
it
very
doesn't.
tragic.
It's definitely not like the studio mandated happy ending of the of Blade Runner.
No,
That
definitely not.
that was just terrible.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. I do want to bring up really quickly, maybe not really quickly, depends on what you want to do, but the whole aspect of the puddle, David, in
The
the
puddle,
town.
yes,
It's
the
very
puddle.
interesting. They mention it in the film itself. They mention it refers to the state of Matsunaga's health or his lungs, which is, the tuberculosis he has. But I'm curious to hear what else could it be a metaphor for?
Well, I think the puddle, which there are many, many shots of in this this film, like the way it's treated, like it's almost like this puddle is like the center of town.
Yeah.
And it's just like a dirty, nasty, grimy pond.
Yeah. That
At
people,
at one point you see kids trying to like splash around and swim in it, and the doctor yells at them for it, saying that they'll catch typhus.
Yeah, that hard ass is doing good work out there.
But yeah, so it's like, I think it's like you said, a metaphor for the state of Matsunaga, but also I think it's a metaphor for the state of that Japan was in post World War II. And it's also a metaphor in the world of the film. I think it's a metaphor for the overall state of the town that the doctor and Matsunaga inhabit.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up Japan, because that was my next thing I was going to go into. Like, you see people dumping stuff into it. You see the kids trying to play in it, and the doctor runs them off. It's really fascinating to get those two scenes together. You, of course, have the inner cuts and the inner transitions of Matsunaga literally looking into the puddle in the giant pond, and then it shows him, and it goes back and forth. And it's very obvious what it's supposed to be, but also having it be a potential analogy of Japan itself post World War II is fascinating, or even the town itself. So really cool. Wasn't expecting to see something like as we were watching it, I didn't get it right away. It took me to sleep. It took me, I had to sleep on it to kind of think about it, to get that kind of thing. But it's fascinating, and I wasn't expecting to see something that deep in a film like this. But I guess it goes to show the the special talent that Akira Kurosawa has. So, yeah. Are we going to see anything deep like that? Pun intended, it's a puddle. Deep like that in Yojimbo or Seven Samurai, potentially?
Who knows? We'll have to watch them and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like you, I'd never seen a Kurosawa film in my life. I'd heard plenty about him, but never watched him. But after watching this, I want to watch more of him.
Yeah, I kind of just want to go through his filmography one at a time, or even maybe, like, I own Seven Samurai on Blu-ray. Like, I have the Criterion of it.
Yeah, at the very least, I want to see definitely his more critically acclaimed films like Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Which, not to spoil anything, I think that might be on one of our possible 2 films.
I don't think so. No, it's not. Not yet.
It's one of
not.
Kurosawa's films is.
Is it? I don't want to look it up. I guess it doesn't matter, but I would like to.
We can.
7 films.
I mean, we can definitely,
7 films.
like, if we really don't want to spoil this, we can definitely cut this part out.
No, it's fine. We'll do it one day.
I'm pretty sure we have one of his films on there. As I think
I want to
it's
look at it now. Let me see.
I think it's the one. It's paired with Godzilla, I think.
Really? Let me see.
Because they both came out in 1954.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, because Seven Samurai came out in 54, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll leave that for the time, that next one.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be the one after the next two films. That might be August's two films, if we have time.
I don't think we've committed to what the schedule is.
But, no, we just have the list of two films.
Definitely, it makes me more excited for that one now that I've seen this.
We're definitely watching Godzilla first, though.
Yeah,
so
dude, Godzilla, not to derail, but like Godzilla is such a good movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like the opposite.
No, I'm saying Godzilla is such a good movie.
Okay.
Like
1954?
For coming out in 1954, it is so cinematic.
So it's so much better than people give it credit for.
I mean, it's pretty acclaimed.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Oh,
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen most of it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I watched it one night and I think I fell asleep probably like halfway through or 3/4 of the way through. So I didn't catch the entire film, but I definitely started to watch it intentionally. And yeah, it's so cinematic in like how the monster attacks are framed and like it's so good.
That's pretty neat. We should honestly, and we can cut this out if we want, but I'll probably just leave it in. But we should probably get some two films in the can, since that's one thing we can get in the can.
That's true.
I think that's one we could probably do next.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
you have that waiting in the wings.
Waiting in the wings, same as the Schofield Bible. No, I'm joking. Okay,
what is your obsession with the Schofield Bible?
Just all the Israel and Iran stuff. People are bringing it up on Twitter. That's all.
Oh, I get it now.
Not to date this podcast or anything.
I get it. You're talking about dispensationalism.
Yes.
Sorry. It took
you a second.
It took me a second.
It's okay. It's a very niche reference if you're into politics or anything like that. So
yeah, now I get it.
Extremely niche.
Yes, so
like religion and politics.
No,
you don't have to explain it. Just leave it.
For reference sake, for explanation's sake, the Schofield Reference Bible is considered by many to be the sort of point where the hermeneutic known as dispensationalism was popularized.
And we're not going to go into it.
Yeah, we're not.
That's another hour.
Yeah, that's
on
a whole nother subject. I'm just giving a bare minimum of context.
That's all you need to know for now.
So,
if you want to look up those terms, go to Wikipedia and have fun.
Yeah, because I felt like being like Schofield Reference Bible. Oh, you mean dispensationalism means absolutely nothing to someone who's not already familiar with those things.
Yeah. So. The only other thing I have written in my notes here, David, is the end fight. It says this. It says, "I don't want your money, Akana. I want a piece of you."
Oh yeah, yeah. It was very reminiscent of that SNL. Was it SNL or was it Mad TV?
Yeah, it's SNL. Yeah.
Yeah, Dana Carvey playing Jimmy Stewart, where they find out that
the real ending of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Where they find out Potter stole the money before the big happy ending.
Yeah, the happy ending.
And they
let's go get him.
Yeah.
And David Carvey, man, perfect impersonation of Jimmy Stewart. Like, so good. No one ever has done it better. So to take the SNL reference and apply it to this film is quite out of a pocket reference. We'll just be real. So.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that's kind of in our brains. We have some shared experiences of seeing that for the first time.
Yeah,
and then referencing it multiple times on a trip.
On a trip, yeah. And SNL did do it because I was trying to debate in my brain if it was SNL or Mad TV. No, it was SNL because John Lovitz is in that skit as Potter.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh, Potter! And they go to his place with torches and axes and just break down the door with an axe. Mary, hold them for me. It's you got to look it up on YouTube. It's a great thing. I don't know why we're mentioning it a podcast about Drunken Angel, but sure, you know.
I mean, to be fair, the fight sequence between Matsunaga and Okada is a little hokey.
It is. Yes.
I
was like super in though at the beginning, and then it gets a little. Once you get in the hallway, it gets a little like, They're just
when they're slipping around in the paint or whatever it is, it's like,
which is like, is that supposed to be an allegory? Is that just there?
I feel like that belongs in like a Charlie Chaplin film. You know what I'm saying?
With less stunts, you know.
But it's really funny too how like even despite the hokiness of the fight sequence, like there's some great shots of Matsunaga. Just like you can see he's just in terrible shape and he's on the verge of death, but he's got this grim determination to exact whatever sort of vengeance on Okada that he can.
That whole sequence in general's pretty great, besides some of the hokey parts. But that's when it cemented to me, like, dude, this is like Jimmy Stewart level acting. Like, he is like wide-eyed, bug-eyed, full of like his emotions. You can clearly see what he's thinking. Like he's scared, he's dying, all this stuff all at once. And he does it. What's his name? Mifune does it really well. He's super cool. So Japanese Jimmy Stewart, we'll call him. Anyway. Yeah, let's get into the trivia and then we'll cap it off there. Number one, this was the first major role for Takashi Shimura, who played the Doctor and was a repeating actor in all of Kurosawa's stuff. Number two, the main actor was inspired by a real-life alcoholic doctor working unlicensed in the Tokyo black market that Akira Kurosawa and writing partner and childhood friend Kinosuke came across. So, apparently real guy, or at least based on one, which is hilarious. Number three, first of many collaborations between Toshirô Mifune and Akira Kurosawa. Let's see. I already mentioned the lady. Number four, the performance of Toshirô Mifune as the violent young gangster Matsunaga was so powerful and memorable that according to director Akira Kurosawa, many people in Japan falsely assume that the title Drunken Angel was intended to refer to Matsunaga. But Kurosawa had actually intended the title character to be the alcoholic doctor, Sanada, who treats Matsunaga. For the filmmaker, he is an angel for attempting to save the gangster from his illness and violent lifestyle despite his own weakness for alcohol. And that's something you brought up last night when we were watching this.
Yeah, I remember mentioning it. He is literally the drunken angel of the film because he's drinking or drunk in so many scenes.
Yeah. The doctor.
The doctor, yes. The doctor is drinking or drunk in so many scenes. And there's so many scenes of him like craving alcohol, but he just can't get a hold of it in that moment.
Yeah.
But he's like a guardian angel to Matsunaga, which it's very tragic because Matsunaga is too proud to accept the help that the doctor wants to give him, but
it's a very beautiful tragedy. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, it's somebody who is informed this is how you're going to get better and refuses to do so and does try, but succumbs to his own wants and desires. And then the grief and the sadness of his own situation from what Okada's doing to him, of his losing his power, all that just amplifies that up to 11, and just he's lost at that point. And it's interesting because even in the final moments where he's fighting the guy, you see that he's like, I have nothing else to give or to get. Like, this is the end. It's really beautiful. Really cool film. And with that, I think we'll end it there, David.
All right.
Yeah. By the way, the Drunken Angel is free, Drunken Angel is free on YouTube if you want to go find it and watch it for free. The subtitles we were watching.
Yeah, some of them seem a little suspect.
Very suspect.
So I don't know if they were an officially commissioned translation or not.
It gets the point across, but there's a lot of the word bro in there.
Yeah, so much use of bro.
Yeah, very weird.
I kind of want I guess Criterion did a DVD release of it.
They do have one. Yeah.
Well, I know they was because I was the review I mentioned that was mentioning the censor mandated ending was a review of the Criterion DVD. So it makes me kind of want to check that out, see if I can score a copy for not too much, to see what kind of subtitles they have on actual physical release of it.
Yeah, and we went on Amazon Prime and we couldn't find it there, but then we found it free on YouTube and we could watch it there. So that was pretty cool. And Dark City, it's definitely worth the rent, I would say, if you're into like detective or crime films or whatever. But if you're not, I wouldn't recommend it to you. But other than that, yeah, very interesting films that, it's funny enough, we picked two films that helped inspire other films, I would say.
Indeed.
You know.
If any selection of two films could be called a selection of two films, this is it. This selection of two films is the one.
Is the one, yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we bid you adieu. We'll take care, and we wish you to take care and rest well. And remember, if you're out there marching the streets of a dark city and you encounter a drunken angel, just remember to move past and snarp fangle on.
Bye-bye now.
Free your mind.